we're going to be doing Russian cuisine, specifically beef stroganoff. And I'm excited that you joined me, and let's go over the target for today. The target is right up here. Students will be able to explain techniques and ingredients and equipment that we're using in this recipe. You're also going to be able to plate up beef stroganoff and make it look professional. And then lastly, you're going to be able to summarize an article about the history of beef stroganoff. The success criteria for today is that you're going to be watching this demonstration, then answering some questions that show your comprehension of the techniques that I'm showing you today. And then you're going to be able to explain about plating up, draw a picture about how you would plate up your own plate to make it look professional. And then lastly, you're going to summarize the article. So let's get started. I'm going to start off by saying that beef stroganoff is one of those meals that has a lot of mushrooms in it. So if you don't want to make this at home, or you might be able to substitute something differently, but I've never really found anything to substitute for the mushrooms. You can put in way less mushrooms than what I'm going to be using. But let's go ahead and get started by using a chef's knife here. And I'm going to put all of my mushrooms that I'm going to slice up back into this bowl here. I need 2 cups of mushrooms, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do that portion, okay? So when you slice up mushrooms, you're going to use your claw, okay? And you're going to put it downward here, okay? And you're just going to slice right over here. You can put it down and then slice some on the side, okay? And just keep doing this. I need 2 cups, okay? So that's quite a few mushrooms. Okay, keep going on this. Mushrooms are good for you. There's a good vegetable. A lot of vegetarians use mushrooms because mushrooms are one of those like meaty type products that kind of replace meat, and so they really oftentimes heavily rely upon mushrooms. They are an acquired taste, you know. It takes a while to get used to them, especially if you don't like them and they seem to be kind of disgusting to you. But just go ahead and slice these up thinly, and then we're going to measure them out in our recipe as well, okay? So put that down and slice this way here. All right, we're getting there. A little bit longer here. Okay, there we go. One more. All right, so after you're done with your mushrooms, this is more than 2 cups, but it's always better to have more than not enough when you're doing mise en place. Okay, so the next item that we're going to be doing is onion. Okay, so this needs to be real small dice. So I am going to go ahead and start off by slicing right into here. Okay. Alrighty, and just run your knife through, and we're going to get some onions out here. So we're looking for about 1/2 of a cup, which isn't very much here. So just slice those up nicely. Run your knife through here. Okay. These onions minced up really nicely so that they're not too large. We don't want them to be large in the beef stroganoff. You know, the first time that I had beef stroganoff was actually in Portland, Oregon. And I went to a famous restaurant there called La Omelette. And it was owned by a famous chef called Horst Menger. And, you know, I was kind of a picky eater when I was young, and so I was not knowing what to get on the menu. And so finally, my grandmother chose this recipe for me. And oh my goodness, I fell in love with it because it was made so well. So you got to try it. It's just really, really honestly delicious. So, okay, so we have our onions cut up right there. And the next thing that we're gonna do, I'm gonna wipe off the board real quick. All right, let's wipe that off a little bit. There we go. So we're gonna do minced garlic next, okay? Same thing, you have 2 cloves of garlic, excuse me, and we're gonna mince the garlic. So you just basically cut it into thin slices, okay? And after you cut it into the thin slices, you're just going to do a rocking motion here and scrape it all together and then run your knife through, just like this. Yeah, move it all together, run your knife through like this. Anyways, after I had that beef stroganoff for the very first time, I've loved it ever since then. I was just a very, very young child at the time. And in fact, Horst Menger from Portland, Oregon was actually one of the first TV chefs. He had a show on television. He used to come on a weekly basis, and it was really kind of fun to watch him back in the day when, you know, celebrity chefs weren't a real big thing back then. He had Julia Child on his show one time, and that was a really big event because she was, you know, a real famous chef, okay? And the next thing that we're gonna do is we're going to mince up some of this. This needs to be washed, first of all. And then this is basically, what you do is you kind of bunch it all together like this. This is parsley. We're gonna do 2 tablespoons of parsley. So just run your knife through like this. Okay, and then just a little more. We're gonna finely mince this. This is gonna be for our garnish to make it look nice. Remember, part of our target back here was to make sure that we knew how to plate this up nicely for our family or a restaurant or some sort of a customer that we might have someday when we're doing chef's work. Okay. All right, we're gonna put this back in here like so. Oh, nicely minced parsley. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're just going to kind of measure out some ingredients here. This is called mise en place still, okay? Let's get out some utensils that we're going to be using. We're going to be doing 2 tablespoons of flour, and that goes right in here like so. And that goes in there, so 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. We're going to be using 1 cup of milk. This needs to be whole milk too because it needs to have a lot of fat in it. But if you have something else at home, that'll be okay. But definitely this adds some fat and flavor to the item, okay? I'm going to set this aside right here. And then I'm going to get, this is a 1/4 of a cup measurement, okay? And we're going to be using dry sherry. If you don't have dry sherry at home, you can use any type of vinegar that has like white wine vinegar, champagne vinegar, or any type of a wine vinegar, but only use half the amount. So you would only be using 2 tablespoons rather than 1/4 of a cup, okay? So let's go ahead and measure that out, 1/4 of a cup. All right, and then we're gonna be using 1/2 of a cup of sour cream. This is already measured out for me. And then the last thing is I'm going to be using some granulated beef bouillon, okay? I'm going to be using a whole entire tablespoon worth of beef bouillon, okay? These are granules that you can buy. If you want to smash bouillon cubes, you need to use 2 of them. Okay, we're ready to begin making our noodles or pasta because we're going to make a beef stroganoff sauce that we put on noodles, okay? So first of all, you have to get a full, this is a stock pot. It's like a 4-quart stock pot. You're gonna fill it all the way up to about 2/3 of the way up, okay? And then you're going to put in a teaspoon of salt because you have to flavor this pasta, okay? So just go ahead and put that in there. 2 teaspoons of salt, okay? And then after that, we're gonna go ahead and put our pasta in there. So we're gonna measure out 3 cups of curly noodle pasta, okay? Curly noodle. And there's 1 that goes in there. Here's number 2. Woo! Oh, there's number 2. And here's number 3 here. Put these all in here. Ugh. There we go. And number 3. Okay, let's go ahead and go over here. Let's grab a spoon, wooden spoon, and just move this around like so. Okay, it is time to do some cutting of the meat, and we're supposed to cut really thin pieces here, very, very thin. So just use your knife and go back and forth here and get these. This is about 1 pound of sirloin tip steak here that we're using. And we're going to put into the beef stroganoff, okay? And you just kind of make these really thin. And the reason why you make them so thin is because it really makes the meat really tender, okay? When you do it, it's kind of a process where you would tenderize the meat when you make them into really small slices like this, okay? So just keep working on this until it's all done, okay? So maybe we can just do a speed up real quick. Ta-da! Done. Okay, I'm gonna check for al dente on the noodles and see if they're done, okay? And you just take one up and kind of put it in your mouth. And if it's firm to the tooth, it is al dente, and this is ready to go. So let's take this over here. We're gonna go ahead and get started on the sauce. So we're gonna go ahead and turn the heat on about medium, which is 5 on the dial, okay? We're going to put 3 tablespoons worth of butter in here, okay? And just get out something to stir with, like a wooden spoon would be fine. Move this around the pan here. And we're going to put in the beef here. This is that meat that I cut up that took so long to do, but it's worth it in the end. We're gonna go ahead and put some salt on this. So we're gonna be using about a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of salt on here. So just go ahead and sprinkle it on there, like so. And then we're going to put about a half of a teaspoon, a quarter of a teaspoon of pepper on here, okay? Get that done real nicely, like so. Ooh, this is coming off here. Let's put that back on there, okay? So once this gets going here, this is called sauteing. We're gonna saute the meat here. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put in our garlic here. Put all the garlic out of there. Okay, and then we're just gonna kind of move this around the pan a bit here. I'm gonna come in closer so we can see here. So this just goes in here like so. Just, oh man, it's smelling so good. Ooh. Wow. Just gonna move this around the pan like so. All right, so just move this around like so. There we go. So we're going to do too much at a time, just a little bit at a time. Okay. Here. You want to keep it just a tad bit pink. We don't want to overcook it, because if you overcook the beef, then it's not going to be tender. Okay, so remember that a steak you can do, you know, rare, medium, or overdone or well done. We're gonna go for not rare, but about medium on the beef here, okay? And then we're just gonna set it aside on a plate, okay? And then use it, okay, for later on. So just get out a plate real quickly, like so. All right, put it right here. And this is just about done. We're gonna just wait just a tad bit longer so the pink disappears just a little bit, okay? More. And we'll put it on our plate here. Okay, I'm just gonna use this slotted spoon right here. Take it out, right like so. Remember, we want to keep this really tender. We're gonna put it back in and it'll cook just a little bit more, but we do not want it to get overdone. So go ahead and take out. Our butter is in there from our meat, and we're gonna go ahead and put the onions in here. The onions in. Yep. And then we're going to put in some mushrooms as well. 2 cups of mushrooms. So I'm gonna make sure that I don't get too many in there. Especially for those that aren't too keen on the mushrooms, okay? So here's 1 cup. And here's another cup. Oh, there's our 2nd cup of mushrooms. There we go. This back over here, and we're going to just stir this up here. This is called sauteing vegetables. So we sauteed the meat and put it aside. It's actually right here. It's going to go back in. I'm just going to move this a bit here. And we're just going to put in a pinch of salt, okay? And then we're going to put in a little bit of pepper here. There we go. Move this around the pan like so. If you want to come in closer, you can kind of see how this is looking here. So you just move it around the pan. The onions are nice and small diced. And we're just moving it around. Just keep it moving. We're just kind of absorbing all of the butter in here, okay? And getting them so that the onions are a little bit translucent and the mushrooms are coated really nicely, okay? Okay, so once that is done, we're going to go ahead and put in our granules. These are beef granules, okay? And then we're going to put in our flour here and just move these around the pan. And yes, it's going to look kind of pasty, but that's okay. It can look that way. We're going to put in some liquid here in a minute. So just move it around the pan. It's going to look a little dry. Whoop. Put it back in there. He's trying to jump out of the pan there. I'm not going to let him. Okay, there we go. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and slowly pour in the milk. Slow. Stir, stir, stir at the same time. Stir. And just move around the pan like so. I'll wait for this to thicken here. All right. It doesn't take very long before it thickens because we don't have very much liquid in there and the pan's already hot. So let's go ahead and stir this. All right. Stirring. It's looking good. Looking very, very good. Once it gets thick, we're going to go ahead and put in our sherry. Here we go. Dry sherry goes in here. I'm going to go ahead and put that in right now. Ooh, it's looking good. It's looking very, 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 very delicious. Ooh, yum, yum, yum. Okay, it won't get all the way thick until it boils, so we're working on getting this. We just want to make sure that nothing sticks on the bottom because we're using butter and dairy products. So butter and dairy products make it so that they burn easily, so you have to stir, stir, stir all the time. Okay? All right, so once this gets done like this, we're going to go ahead and put the meat back in here and get it cooking a bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and put all the meat back in here. And I'll put that over there. Okay, one in here. Let's move these all together like so. Everything is thick. And cooked all the way through. So it's going to take about 3 minutes to cook this all the way through. We don't want it to go too long because we don't want the meat to get tough and overdone. It's time to put the sour cream in here. And this is all measured out because I know the ounces on here. So go ahead and put the sour cream in here. And let's go ahead and stir this in. Takes a little while to get all this sour cream stirred in here, but this is the important part about this dish, is putting this cream in here. That gives it kind of a sour flavor, but a really good mixture of flavor. It's delicious, okay? So it doesn't take very long for this to get heated up, the sour cream, because it's already hot when you put it in here. So I think it is time to plate up this food, and so we're going to start with a couple of garnishes. We're going to put some parsley, and I'm going to put a little tomato wedge on there just to add another color, okay? So just cut this tomato in half right here. Okay, put it here. Take out this right here. I'm just going to put a tomato wedge on there. Okay, so we got that all done and ready to go. Put that in here and my knife over here. Okay, now let's go get the pan and right over here. Ooh, man, this is looking so good. Okay, let's pick this whole pan up and put it right here. And move this over here. This is my pepper here. And so we're going to use some tongs here, getting our pasta out. Whoops. I'll have to put that up here in a minute. Okay, put some pasta on here. Oh my goodness, boom. Boom, okay. So here we go. We need to put some of this sauce on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a ladle out here. Ooh. Okay, and let's go ahead and scoop this up like so in here. All right, so this goes right on here like so. Get some sauce on here as well. Sauce on here as well. Okay, next, we're gonna put some parsley on there like so. And then lastly, some freshly ground pepper and a little slice of tomato right there, and one on this side as well. Make it look nice. Okay, so guess what, it's time to try this out. Let's put these noodles over here, get them out of the way, get them out of there. All right, so here we go, going in here. It looks so delicious. I don't know where to start here. Let's see here. I gotta get a mushroom, gotta get a noodle. Don't want to burn my tongue. Thank you so much for joining me today, learning how to make beef stroganoff from Russia. Don't forget to write the target in your own words, and also to plate things up nicely when you make food for people. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.